Programming in Java. For doing programming in Java, you must know some basic programming language like C. This is your prerequisite, means you must know about the basics of C. And second thing is core listing, means some concept that will go simultaneously in Java. The OOPS concept, object oriented concepts of C++ will be used in Java, and some additional concepts will become in Java. We will discuss about that in our class. So firstly, what is the outcomes of this course? After completion of Java programming, you will be familiarized with the concept of object-oriented concepts by implementing Java programming. You can implement inheritance, polymorphism after completion of Java programming. We will learn the concept of classes and objects with feature of reusability and implementation of same with various control structure to solve the real world problems. We will solve some real world problems like how to find the area of circle or area and circumference of different shapes by using the concepts of Java like classes and objects and other control structure statements. We will discuss about control statements in our syllabus. Understand and design built-in and user-defined functions or methods, interfaces and packages, etc. Now, what is the inbuilt and user-defined functions? What is built-in functions and user-defined function? Built-in functions provided by Java. Some predefined functions will be provided by Java that will we study in our practical lecture, and user-defined function and some functions that we will define and use as per our requirement, that will be user-defined functions. So similarly, we can create our interface and packages. There is also building interfaces and packages that can we use. And if we want some interfaces and packages as per our requirement, then we will go for user defined. Handle various type of data using array and string, and handling of exceptions occurred in programs. In our coursework, we will discuss array and strings. So at the end of the course, you can be solve problems related to arrays and strings. There is also a concept exception handling. When we run our program, there will be some errors, and that errors message can be in technical language, means a technical knowledgeable person can be understand that messages. So to provide user understandable, means a non-technical person, for non-technical person to display some error message, we can use exception handling. We will discuss in detail about this in exception handling unit 3 topic. Then utilize multi-threading and applet features of Java for efficient and effective programming. So in our coursework, we will discuss multi-threading in unit 4. Basically, multi-threading is used for performing multiple executions at a time that can be done simultaneously. Some some executions can be done simultaneously and some not. That we will be discussed in our complete coursework. Then applets is used for dynamic view in websites. So we will discuss applets in unit 4. Create and handle files in Java. For this purpose, we will study file and IO stream chapter in unit 4. So after discussing about our outcomes, just go for the syllabus. In unit first, we will discuss about Java programming fundamentals and Java essentials. In Java programming fundamentals, we will study about introduction to Java, means when Java is developed, who developed Java, stages of Java, origin, challenges of Java, Java features, means about Java, what is the advantages and disadvantages of Java, Java program development, means how we can develop a program in Java programming. Object oriented programming means OOPS concept, inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, classes and objects. We will briefly understand about this in this unit, and in detail we will go for classes and objects. Java essentials. In Java essentials, we will discuss elements of Java programs like variables, tokens, and literals, comments about that. Java API, variable and literals, primitive data types. We will discuss about data types, integer, character, float, string, etc. Then we will also discuss about string class, variable, how to initialize variable, how to use variable, constants, how to use constant and define constant. What is the need of constant? Then we will discuss about operators. There will be various operators, arithmetic operators, logical operators, conditional operators that will be used in our practical work. Then the scope of variable and blocks. When we initialize a variable, then it can be used globally or outside the function, inside the function. That will depend upon the scope. So we will discuss about in scope of variable and blocks. Types of comments in Java. In this topic, we will learn about the comments, means multi-line comment and single line comment, how to add that comments in our program. Then in unit 2, there will be control statement, classes and objects, inheritance. So in control statements, we will learn about decision making, looping and jumping statements in detail. You all also had studied about it in C++, but again we will discuss about it. So you cannot face any problem in coming class. So in decision making statement, we will discuss about if else, nested if, else if, ladder, switch and conditional operator. In looping statement, we will study about loops, while, while, for and nested loops. And in jumping statements, we will study about break and continue. So next is unit 3. In unit 3, we will study about array and strings, interface and packages, exception handling. Students, for unit 1 and unit 2, there will be a basic things that you have done in C and C++. From unit 3, OOPS concept will be started. Classes and objects you had done in C++, and in as well as Java is also object oriented programming language, so we will study it again. In classes, we will study about classes and objects, how to define class, how to define objects, and how to use it. About modifiers means how we can make it public, private, and protected. Passing arguments, constructions, we will study about constructors, overloaded constructors, in which we will define more than one constructor. Operator overloader, loading, static class member function, and garbage collection. That you had studied in C++, but we also repeat it in Java programming, but we use the syntax of Java instead of C++. Next, your topic is inheritance. Inheritance, we will study about basics of inheritance, inheriting and overriding superclasses methods, calling superclass constructor, polymorphism, it is another topic, polymorphism, abstract classes, and final classes. We will also study about what is the use of this concept, how to use it in our programming, what is the syntax of this programming, and also studied about the some problems that we will do in our practical lecture. In unit 3rd, there will be 3 chapters: array and strings, interface and packages, exception handling. In array and string, there will be 2 topics, array and string. For array, we will discuss about introduction to array, what is array, how to define, how to enter data in array, how to access data in detail. Processing array contents, passing array as arguments, means if you want to pass array as the argument, then we will study about it. Returning array from a method, array of objects, 2D array with 3 or 2 dimensions, means we will discuss about 2D array and 3D array, and more dimensions, means there can be 4 dimensions, 5 dimensions. Next topic is string. In string, we will study about string class. String concatenation means how to concatenate two different strings. Comparing strings means how to compare the content of 2 different strings. Substring, difference between string and string buffer class, string tokenizer class. We will discuss about these topics in our unit 3, array and strings. Our next topic is interface and packages. Basics of interface, multiple interface means how to define and use interface, how to define multiple interface and use them, multiple inheritance using interface. Student, you must note it that in C++ we can implement multiple inheritance, but in Java, if you want to implement multiple inheritance, then you have to use interface. Multi-level interface, packages, that is the another topic, packages. We will study about it, how to define, how to use these packages. Create and access packages, static import and package class, access specifiers, means packages can be public, private, and protected. We will study about in interfaces and packages. Then our next chapter will be in unit 3, exception handling. In this, we will discuss about exception handling, introduction, try and catch blocks, multiple catch, nested try, finally, throw statement, built-in exception. Maybe you discuss about this topic in C++. In Java, we will discuss about it also in detail and also try some program related to these topics. Then in unit 4, there will be 3 chapters. You can say 3 different topics: multi-threading, applets, file, and IO streams. In multi-threading, we will discuss about introduction, means what is multi-threading, why we need it, threads in Java, thread creation means how to create thread, how to use thread, life cycle of thread means different stages of thread, joining a thread, thread scheduler, thread priority, thread synchronization. In multi-threading, we will discuss about threads, their priority means which thread will be executed first, joining a thread, thread synchronization. Synchronization means when 2 or more threads can be executed, means some threads will be dependent on other and can be used data of other thread. So in that case, we have to use thread synchronization. When 2 threads can access the same data, then it is best to execute 1/3 first and then second. Doesn't execute these threads at same time. It can be cause inconsistent result. So it's about multi-threading. Then our next chapter or topic is applets. Applets basically used to provide dynamic effects in websites. So we will study about applets, introduction, applet class, applet life circle, graphics in applets, and event handling means how to handle events in our websites using applets. File and IO stream. Your last chapter of unit 4 and your syllabus is file and IO streams. We will discuss about file class, stream and byte streams, filter byte stream, random access file class, character streams. In these topics, we will study about files and how to use and store, create file content in file and IO streams. So that's about your syllabus in detail. So before starting our Java, we will know about the difference between procedural programming and object-oriented programming. Basically, you have study about C and C++. Basically, C is procedural programming and just C++ is our object-oriented programming. So in procedural programming and object-oriented programming, what is the difference between these? We will study about it in this PPT. Procedural programming can be defined as functions and object programming can be defined as objects. So let's start the difference between object-oriented programming and procedural-oriented programming. In procedural programming, program is divided into small parts called functions. In procedural programming, we write functions, we divide our problem in functions. Means it, if we want to solve like area and circumference of square, then we will define 2 functions, area and circumference. We divide our problem in functions. In object-oriented programming, program is divided into small parts called objects. We will study about objects in our OOPS concept. So don't about it ki what is objects. So in object oriented programs, we divide our program in objects. Procedural programming follows a top-down approach. When we study about C and implement C programs, we know that we start our program hashtag include conio data studio.h and then void main. Means our program start implementer from top to down. Means firstly our header files will be compiled and then compiler control entered in our main program, and our program start compiling or running from top to down. But in object oriented programming, it follows bottom up approach. Means in object oriented programming, firstly we define some classes, at the end we define our main class. We will study about it when our coding will be start. So compiler always start compile or run our program from main class. So our main class at the bottom, so it will start from the bottom, and according to the call of object and class, it will redirect top. So our working will be bottom up. Means compiler goes at the bottom and then goes at the up. There is no access specifier in procedural programming. When you study about C, you know that you never choose any word like public, private, protected. Means any function can be run at any location. Means there is no restriction about use of functions and any other concept in C. But in object oriented programming, we have access specifiers like private, public, protected. Means if you want that the owner of the class use the function of defined class, then we define private. And if we define access specifier public, then any other class can be used the functions and data members of the class. Protected. In protected, inheritance, it will be used. When we derive a class from the base class, the public and private functions will be inherit in derived class. So in the protected, the data members and member functions can be used by derived class, but private functions and data members cannot be used by derived class. Next, adding new data functions is not easy. Adding new data and function is easy. So in OOPS, means in C++ or Java, we can add new functions and data, because here class is a blueprint of our structure program, and main use will be done using the objects. So we can add functions in our classes, means in blueprints. Procedural programming does not have any proper way for hiding data, so it is less secure. Object-oriented programming provides data hiding, so it is more secure. Recently, we study about access specifiers. In C, there is no specifiers, means always all functions, all data is public, means anybody can be use these functions and data. But in object oriented, we have access specifiers. If we want that nobody can use our class, data, function, and any other data, then we can make it private. In procedural programming, overloading is not possible. In object oriented, overloading is possible. So firstly, what is overloading? Overloading The word specify its meaning. Overloading means beyond its functionality. In C++, if we write A plus B, then A and B must be hold a integer value. Means in C, it will be add to integers, floats means numerical values. But in C++ and Java, we can use plus symbol for concatenation of two strings. Means now add symbol can add characters or strings. So in object oriented programming like C++ and Java, we can implement overloading. There will be constructor overloading, function overloading, and operator overloading. In procedural programming, function is more important than data. In object oriented programming, data is more important than function. As you study in C, that you almost most of the time you working with functions. So procedural programming emphasis on data. Functions means how to implement function, what will function do. But in object oriented programming, more emphasis is on data. Means as we study recently about access specifier, means how to secure our data, who can access this data. So in object oriented, it emphasizes on data. Next point is procedural programming is based on unreal world. Object oriented programming is based on real world. If you want to solve our real world programs, then we will go about object oriented programming like C++ and Java. But procedural programming is based on unreal problems. We will discuss about real world problems in our coming lectures. So don't worry about it, that what is unreal world problems and what is real world. At the last, some examples of a procedural programming and object-oriented programming. For procedural programming, we can use C, Fortran, Pascal, and Basics. And for OOPS, object-oriented programming language, we can study about C++, Java, Python, and C#. That is about the difference between object-oriented language and procedural programming language. Data structure means how to store data in physical memory, means in storage, secondary storage, physical storage, means how to store classes and objects on memory. So data structure must be as per requirement of the objects and classes. Functions that operate on data of objects are tied together in data structures. In classes and objects, data and functions bind together and create a class, and object use that class. Data is hidden and cannot be accessed by the external functions. As we study about in our last PPT, that we can make it public, private, and protected. So data is hidden and cannot be accessed by external function. If our data is private, then no external function can be accessed. Objects communicate with each other through through functions. So object can communicate with another object and with classes through functions. We will study it about in detail during our practical work, that how objects communicate with another class or object. New data and function can be easily added whenever necessary. So we can add any data and function in class, and object can use that data and functions when object as communicate with class. Object oriented follows bottom up approach in program design. uh, we all already discussed in our last topic that object oriented is bottom up approach because it compiled and implement from bottom to up. Organization of data and functions. As you see in diagram, data is in a old shape, means data is stored here. Member function is stored separate. Each member function will be stored in separate location. So the external oval shape shows that data and member functions bind together. And objects communicate. Uh, in purple color, it is one object. In blue color, it is another object, and yellow colored is another object. These objects communicate with each other through message passing. Now, basic concepts in OOPS. We will study about objects, classes, message passing, abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and dynamic binding one by one. So firstly, our topic is objects. Objects are basic runtime entity of an object-oriented system. Runtime entity means it will work on the runtime. I cleared one thing here, that when we create a class, memory is not allocated. When we create objects, then memory is allocated, and objects is created at runtime when program is implemented. And when objects is created, it that object is created at runtime. So objects are basic runtime entity of object oriented system. They may represent a person, place, atom that program must handle. As we studied about real world program, so objects can handle real world program, means it can represent person, place, and item that can must handle by program. So let's discuss about it with the example. And object, data members, and functions. Data members basically our variables. For example, you write name equals to, in double quotes, ABC, means you assign ABC name variable name, so that will be our data member. And if we define a function like for area calculation and another, that is a function. So firstly, we discuss about our object of car. For car, characteristics of car can be model, year, color. Another data member can be its average, AC or non-AC. It can be many as per our requirement. So basically, data members are our variables, characteristics of our entity. Then functions mean operations that a object can perform. So car can be start, car can be move, car can be stop. Any another function you can be add as per your requirement. As we study in previous slide, that objects are made up of two things, state and behavior. State basically set of data which describe our object. Model, year of manufacture, color, it define car. We can say a black color car, model number, and year of manufacturing means we can consider that this car is manufactured in 2019, black color car. So that data member functions members are define our object. means characterize our object. Behavior, method or function means set of operations that object can perform. There is another example: color, size, amount, name, phone number, that can be characteristics of an object as per the requirement. So functions can be walk, run, drive, sell, buy, transfer, compute, total, open, close as per our requirement. Walk and run can be methods of for person class. Sell or buy can be for shopping. So you can add data members and member function as per your requirement. Student can be confused in data member and data functions. So data members are our variables as we compare with C and C++. Data members are our variables. Functions will be our data functions will be our function. So you can think about uh, some objects and their state and behavior. Do by yourself, and you can check it by sending me on WhatsApp. Some examples of object, state and behavior. Firstly, object name is student. So attributes or characteristics of student can be roll number. Here mentioned registration number, you can write roll number, then name, age, weight, height, mark, any another state you can also add. Behavior, student can be registered, student can be change marks, student can change height or weight. Next, for object clock, variable can be dial color, hour, minute. We can also add here size, shape of clock. So many more states we can add as per our requirement. Behavior of a clock means operations performed by clock. We can set time, show time, any another behavior. If you can add or need, then you can add. For stack, state can be top, length, full, empty, and behavior can be push or pop. Means we can insert and delete. Insertion and deletion known in stat, push or pop. So attributes for radio can be on off, current volume, current station. We can also color, consider color, any other state can be added. And behavior means functions and operations performed by radio: turn on and or off, increase volume, decrease volume, seek, scan, and tone. Next subject is car. For car, state can be name, color, color gear, color, current speed, current gear, headlight, status, color, and many another can be added. Behavior can be push accelerator, change gear, light on, off. You can add other functions as per your requirement. Next object is array. Array can have length, array can be full, empty, current and index. So we need a variable for array. Behavior, we can insert in array means we performing an operation. So operations can be insert, delete, sort, traverse, merge, print. We can add searching also. Our next object is dog. So data members for dog can be name of dog, color, breed, hungry. We can also add weight, height as per our requirement. So operations performed by a dog can be barking, fetching, wagging tail, and another as per requirement we can add. Running we can be add. Next object is bike. So attributes data members for the bike can be speed, acceleration, front gear. We can also add color, model number, year of manufacturing, and operations performed by a bike can be turn on accelerator, push the brake, change gear, and many more. Next object for is window. For window, data members can be top, left, name, current state, and we can also add version. So operations performed by window can be minimize, maximize, move, close. So this is about objects. In next class, we will discuss about classes and other concepts of OOPs.